This year's Underdog contest, they're massively different in payout structure from last year. There's loads going on the Underdog streets, and tonight we talk with the person behind those contests, Hope Bishop. You might recognize that name from the Underdog streets in previous years. She hung up a cape, went back behind the curtain to start pulling the levers, get everything going in a different way. This is Fantasy Sanctuary Underdog Best Ball Show. We've got lots to get into. Hope, we've just been chatting before we went live. How much are you missing the public lobbies compared to your staff-only drafts?
I miss them so much. It's weird. Like I was kind of telling you guys before, I'm a slow drafter now, and it is not nearly as fun of having just constant drafts ready to fire whenever you want. But no, I'm loving it. I love working at Underdog. It's been great. God, really only about 7 months so far, but it feels like it's been a long time. But
it feels like it's been a lot longer than that. Yeah.
Yeah, my math might be off there, but last October. So yeah, no, it's been a great time. I definitely miss drafting in public lobbies, though. That's for sure.
Only slow drafts. Can you file a complaint with HR? That feels like cruel and unusual punishment from Underdog to force you to do the worst type of draft.
No, yeah, I might have to at this point. No, I mean, it is obviously a lot less people trying to fill contests, so and people working. So we're going with mostly slow drafts. We'll occasionally, we've got an employee Slack channel for contests, and we'll be like, hey, like there's 9 of 12 sitting in this next fast. Like anybody around tonight want to do a fast draft? And we'll sometimes get one filled, and then 3 or 4 people will be auto drafting, but it's still fun. But no, yeah, mostly a slow drafter now.
Oh, that just sounds like the awful homely grind of drafting that we all wanted to leave by doing the best ball, and you're over here just like, anybody else not doing anything tonight? Come on! You're like, 4 auto drafts? I don't. Yeah, that sounds just like a miserable. It feels like you don't like drafting anymore. That's not.
No, I still love drafting. And I've got a portfolio. Like I'm gonna have a decent amount of teams done, but yeah, no, slow drafter.
So has that transition to being a slow drafter kind of changed how you're drafting at all? Because like I always feel like in a fast draft, after a while, you just get into the zone of it. You just, you're making your decisions based on the vibes and the experience from a fast draft. But slow drafts, it's definitely a different feeling when you're making your picks. How have you been adjusting to that?
Yeah, definitely would say I'm just much more focused on my own team. I couldn't tell you what the other people's teams look like in my lobby. So I'm kind of just, building out my own team. That would be the main difference is, when you're fast drafting, you're watching what everyone's doing. You know how many quarterbacks they have, like, and you're in a groove. And I'm more so like, I'm getting in there and clicking buttons at this point.
So, I mean, obviously, I alluded to it at the top. A big part of your job is helping design these best ball contests and look at what can be improved. What was like the biggest priority for you heading into 2024, looking at Underdog's slate of contests?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty obvious on the main thing we've changed in a lot of the bigger contests is flattening out the payout structure. I think it's been a big priority for myself and for Numi. We love flatter payouts, especially like, and I'd say the big difference is when it's a 150 max type, like a big contest. I think that's when you really want it to be flat. Because you're putting a lot of entries in, you're putting a lot of money in, and if you make a finals, like you really want to feel like you've made it and you've earned something there. Now, something like a single entry, like the Golden or the Pug we just ran, you're not putting as much up. And so we did kind of make those slightly more top heavy. But again, if you make the finals, you're still, 10xing, 15xing. So like, it's not going to, you're not going to be like, man, I put 150 into this and I'm only getting this back. So that's kind of how I've been breaking it up with the smaller entry versus like the 150 max stuff.
I'm glad y'all didn't make the Golden winner take all again. That was so crushing.
Yeah, I mean, we do some of those like in the daily streets. We do some winner take alls, and yeah, we'll see if we do any more for best ball. But yeah, now we switched it up there.
Oh, y'all. So the single entry art, like that is a really fun one that I see a lot of people really enjoy and ask for more. So I'm hoping we get a few more of those over the summer, if not many more.
Definitely will. We'll have more Goldens. I just actually made I reworked one of our contests from last year into a single entry, so I think people are gonna like it.
Right.
But yeah, no, I think that more single entry, more 3 maps, the stuff that Snap fills in a day, like those are going to be coming for sure.
All right.
So the big thing with BBM was the lack of regular season prize, and I'd say the vast majority of people seem to be really pleased that was lost. There were some who felt kind of passionately about it, that it was really good at the same time. Was that a difficult kind of conversation to lose that, or was it just a case of, look, we want to get to a point where the top 100 teams in BBM are all going to make 5 figures for getting into that position, so we've just got to lose it?
Yeah, it was a really tough decision. A lot of going back and forth. I mean, that was kind of a bigger decision. I would, for the whole team who has impact on that. But I think, like, I will say, like, we have some other things planned. I think for people who really like regular season prizes and having more of a season long sweat, I think there'll be some stuff coming down the road, as well as you've got weekly winners, you've got Eliminator, which kind of can do a little bit of that, and we got a couple other things planned as well for people who missed the regular season. But no, it's definitely a really, really hard decision. We just kind of went back to the roots of what BBM is, and then, like I said, if you make the BBM finals, like it's a really good reward this year.
So, Hope, like, you streamed a lot of your BBM entries last year before you went to work for Underdog, but I don't remember hearing from you how you did. Did you have any sweats towards the end? How did you do in your
No
one last
finals.
hurrah?
I did not make the finals. I did get 2 teams to the big board final, and I got 1 team to the Puppy 3 final. And I had that really good screenshot equity because Thursday of the big board final, I had like a Jets Cleveland stack, which was Thursday night game. So after that game, I'm pretty sure I was in first or second of the big board. So I got that nice, like 100K or 200K screenshot, but
Nice.
that did not last. So I got 3 teams to the finals across my portfolio. But no, I didn't make the BBM finals, unfortunately.
So the Eliminator, that was probably one of the most popular contests last year. It seemed like one which really hit home with people. Like, it just had that continued bringing people back to the app week after week. And whereas in BBM, we're kind of always shooting for ceiling outcomes, same for weekly winners. The Eliminator kind of feels a bit more that there's a balance to it. Do you think that's still something which is getting lost? A lot of people still treating it similarly. How are you feeling like the current vibe is towards the Eliminator?
Yeah, I love the Eliminator. I know it was my favorite contest last year. I was the type of person sweating it like week after week. If I had one on the line, like I was going in, like looking at the 2 or 3 players I had different than the other people in the pods, and like I was even renaming my drafts to like I love the Eliminator, if you can't tell. I think this Eliminator is slightly different. I think we may have learned a couple things with the sizing of it. That Eliminator maybe shouldn't just not be $1 million contest, and it should be a little smaller. It's still like a 115 final is still pretty small, though. I would say, like, I've seen some talk like I basically am just treating it like a week 17 is all that matters, and I totally get that. I still think 115 is pretty small for the size of contest, but we're gonna have that $50 big Eliminator with the 6. Well, we'll see what size final, but it'll be really small, like last year's I think was 6. So yeah, I think the Eliminator is a super, super fun format. I honestly love it, and we're gonna definitely have the bigger Eliminator coming hopefully soon.
Because, like, I mean, even 115, that's quite similar to the kind of final size of a lot of like FFPC contests. And there's years of data there that kind of suggests you don't need massive stacks to take it down. In terms of, like, if you could add one twist to the Eliminator, does anything, like, without revealing your best secrets or anything, like, is there anything that you'd like to do with that format?
Yeah, I think one where I can just reveal our best secret. This one isn't totally coming yet, but I think an Eliminator that you're 1v1ing someone every week would be really fun. Like every week you're in a 2-person pod and one person moves on. Figuring out the perfect sizing for that is something that, honestly I'm still working through. And so we'll see if it comes to fruition, but I think that could be a really fun Eliminator format. You're just 1v1 every week, the whole season. So I think that could be really cool.
Like a weekly head-to-head. That's fun.
Basically a weekly head-to-head. Now, obviously, round 1 would be 12, of course.
Right. Yeah,
but then every week after that, you're basically a head-to-head. I think that'd be super cool if we can get that figured out, and we'll see.
There's been some talk lately about like eventually best ball replacing like your home fantasy league from the standpoint of not having to like, not having to like manage it and stuff. But part of the fun of that home league is like that 1v1 head-to-head stuff. So yeah, if y'all can capture that in a really fun way in like a tournament, that could be a lot of fun, especially with like how much the community is starting to kind of, grow together and be familiar with one another. So that'd be fun.
I think you'd have so many fun aspects of like Tuesday, Wednesday morning people logging into Underdog, then going straight to the Discords and Twitter, like
Exactly, yeah.
Who the hell is Stacksman69 or whatever? And
Yeah, let's get some weekly beef going. That's what I'm about.
Yeah, I think that would be a good one, and I know it's one Hayden really likes the idea of, so I don't want to take full credit. He really likes that idea and is one he's pushing for. So I think that could be something we see at some point.
So, I mean, speaking of Hayden, Weekly Winners was kind of his baby. And obviously, when you launched it, there was like the initial half-season contest, then it turned into a full season one. Do you think that there's scope to see more of these kind of short window contests at some point? Ones which I know some of group chats we've been in, Hope, there's people talking that they'd like to see ones for 4 weeks at a time. Is that something that you'd like to see happen?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think that, especially like a 4-week basketball style. I've seen some people talk about that, and that's an idea we've had, like a first 4 to kind of make more than just week 16, week 17 matter. Yeah, with weekly winners, we'll see. I mean, obviously, we made the initial one, so we thought the idea of going shorter weeks would, be something, a first half and then launching a second half, and maybe we could have done a better job of saying that was the plan, to have a first half and second half. But I think we also underrated, some of the strategy of, having 17 full weeks, having all the bye weeks to plan for. So I definitely think that, maybe we solved, because there were some, complaints about how big weekly winners is and how unwinnable it feels. And so I think maybe we tried to solve for that issue, that maybe that was a minority that felt that, and the majority liked weekly winners. And so that's why we decided to run the full season.
Yeah, I think the weekly winners thing is tough because it feels like you've got two types of players that come to the table with that. It's one type of player. I saw a lot of people going, it's like 50 cents to have a shot at 20K every week, like the true gambler degen lotto style. And they're super into that. And then the other bros that are trying to like maximize the edge, and they're going like, damn, that's the odds that I can like solve this puzzle and hit it with all the chaos and variance just seems overwhelming. And I remember those like sweats just being non-existent. So it's like, and there's no real way to please both of those crowds in the same contest. That feels like just a separate contest type of thing in my head from like a simplicity standpoint.
Yeah, I think we just learned the weekly winners. It's going to be for some people, and some people it's not going to be for. Yeah. I think that's just kind of how it's going to be with that contest. We kind of tried to find that middle ground, but in doing that, I think we like both sides just still didn't like it at that point. Yeah. So it's just like, if the side who already doesn't like it isn't going to play it, if it's this, let's just keep it the way it was for the side who really did like it and go from there. And no, I definitely think it's fun. And there's going to be a lot more data. We're going to be releasing the weekly winners data hopefully really soon, hopefully this week. And we'll get that out to people. And I think that'll help with some of the strategies of it. But yeah, I just think it's one of those contests you either play it or you don't, for the reasons you're talking about.
And that feels similar to like the daily stuff. Like there's sports and contests you like and you don't care about. And I think it's a good thing to have an ecosystem where go to the buffet and take what you want. Not everything on the spread is for you. And if you're you're allergic to gluten or cheese, just don't eat that. Don't stuff it in your face and go like, why'd you make me play this? So yeah,
I agree.
I think with like weekly winners as well, it's one of those contests where the people who have had success in it and the people who've had a sweat in it are going to be incredibly loyal to it. And I mean, we kind of find that with a lot of contests, don't we? It's like you hear it year on year. It's like, I've never done well in BBM, so I think I'm going to concentrate on these tournaments and stuff. And that's definitely a good tactic to take if you found an edge in a certain contest. But weekly winners, as you say, I think as the data comes out and people start tapping into what the edges are, what works and what doesn't work, it's going to be really interesting to see. We've got a question from Goblaw in the chat. Tuned in late. Have you asked if Hope thought the POM would last through today? Did you expect it to last through today?
Honestly, no. I did everything I could to make it last the full weekend. I had it jammed in the back of the lobby. So if you wanted to swipe all the way over there without clicking the NFL tab, you had to. But no, I mean contests like that, they snap fill, and so no, I would say no. I didn't expect it to be there today. Those are hard to manage.
In terms of I've got one more to get to, and we'll take a few more from the chat before we get you out of here. But we haven't really seen much in the way of Superflex contests yet from Underdog this year. Is that something that's coming in the near future, or is that something that's just kind of on the back burner at the minute?
No, they're coming. I guess I can go and say this. The next puppy will be Superflex. I've heard people asking for Superflex. The only reason we didn't do a big board Superflex is because we made the big board itself a 2 million versus a 1 million prize contest. So I mean, we doubled the size of it, almost 100 or over 100,000 more entries. So I mean, it just simply wasn't as much time to run a big board Superflex. But yeah, we'll definitely have a Superflex contest here shortly. Yeah, the next puppy will be Superflex.
All right.
And how big a contest is that one? Like, would it be smaller than the puppy one or bigger?
Yeah, it'll be slightly smaller than the puppy one. We've just looked at the data, and Superflex it feels a good bit slower than normal,
Yeah.
and so yeah, it'll be a little smaller than puppy one. And I think I'll also maybe do a Superflex pug as well. I think
Nice.
to have that, so that'll be fun.
And will the Superflex be 20 rounds as like the normal Superflex have been over the last couple of years? Cool.
Yeah, for sure.
Got a question from Gobbler, one of our YouTube members. If you want to be one of our YouTube members, hit the join button down below. For less than the price of a Big Mac meal, you can get access to my rankings, all Rich's Dynasty content, and get 40% off all Spike Week products. Gobbler says, is there a trigger system that alerts the Underdog team that a draft has something fishy going on, or are they manually checking every draft board, or only check when we alert customer service?
I can only say so much on this. Yeah, both, all of the above. We definitely have tools we use that flag drafts, and then there is a bit of manual process to see why it was flagged. So yeah, I mean all of the above there, tools, ourselves, anything like that. If when you guys alert us, we definitely look into things. So keep doing that. But yeah, I mean I'd say all of the above there. I can't really tell you too much about the process of that, but yeah, kind of all of the above there.
So before we get you out of here, Tyler, you got any more questions that you want to throw at Hope?
Yeah, as a Great Pyrenees owner, where is the Great Pyrenees contest? I have been banging the drum for this for 3 years, and I feel underrepresented. So I would like to direct my complaint live to you.
Okay. Yeah, I'll get that request in to get a new dog made. I've got a request in for several more dogs, so hopefully we'll have those. I'm a German Shepherd.
Is there a dog wait list? Is that
pretty
it?
Much. I've got a German Shepherd myself, and I've been wanting a German Shepherd contest, maybe like a really flat contest. I think that would be a fun idea of like, like super flat. So we'll see there.
All right.
What's the most out there dog that you've got on the dog waiting list?
Oh, shoot, the most out there. I don't really think we have too many out there.
All right. Well, then I need to start sending more out there breeds. Then I need the Canaan dog.
We need like the mutt. That would be fun.
The mutt. Oh God, that's
a good idea, right?
You could get really messy with it too. That could be fun.
Yeah.
I like this. I just want to be on the board of dog contest creators.
I love it.
Whatever that position is, I'll apply.
So, Hope, before we get out of here, in terms of your staff drafts you've been doing and the portfolio you've been building, can you give us 2 or 3 players that you're really high on for this year?
Yeah, let me pull up the ranks here and see. The second round receivers are tough. I'm kind of in the same boat as a lot of people on those, like with these prices of these receivers. I think I've been Pacheco pilled by Hayden. I think he's gonna get all the work there. So I'm in on Pacheco. I'd like the price of Kyler in the Cardinals. Yep. I think the Cardinals are great values right now. So those are a couple that I'm liking to pick. Let's see if I have any others. So I'm scrolling ADP.
I need to know who Hope isn't touching with a 10-foot pole. That's what I need.
Oh, Malik Neighbors. I got 0% right now.
Wow, that's a hot take. Why?
I just don't believe in Daniel Jones at all. And I know he's going to get all the work. And so the way I draft, I'll probably not have 0, but pretty underweight on like Neighbors in the Giants offense. Third round pick. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, the case for him is that like his floor is at least safe in a low ADOT system as a yak guy, and you just hope and pray he breaks it. But I will say, from like a watchability standpoint, we all watched and bemoaned as we all had lots of cheap New York stacks last year. We were just like, oh my God, stop sucking, get the ball out of your hand. You know pressure's coming. So from like a mental health standpoint, I understand going like, I don't want to watch that offense and beg and pray for Daniel Jones to not suck.
Well, I mean, that's you. If I come to speak of it, I mean, I think that might be my bias because I had like 18% Daniel Jones last year, a ton of Slayton.
Oh, me too.
I had a ton of Slayton, ton of Daniel Jones, and so I'm probably
Slayton
just like
hit.
being
Slayton
like
hit week 17.
He did hit. Yeah, no, he was a good pick regardless. But
I mean, the good news is you can get them both in like the 17th and 18th round this year.
Yeah,
like, scroll the F down.
Yeah, the Dimes bros were like, he's free. Don't you want free garbage?
I'll admit, of course, I mean, you could say like, well, what if they're good in week 17 about any player? But no, I agree. He's definitely got upside. I mean, it's nothing against Neighbors. He's awesome. I'm a big college fan.
It is a price thing, though. Investing that much like into a likely bottom 10 offense does not feel good. Like we want rookies, but it's like, do we want a rookie on like a really crap offense with a potentially crap QB combo? It's like not really.
All the top 4 quarterbacks as well, I think, are underpriced. So I'm taking all those.
It's music to my ears.
Mahomes for sure. Yeah, all the top 4. Not as much CJ Stroud, and then I mean, also like
hater
Herbert. I mean, free. I'll just take the talent with Herbert, with Justin Herbert.
As it happens, I'll have a video out about the elite quarterbacks versus the pocket passers on this channel on Friday this week. So definitely hit the subscribe button if you haven't already to catch that. Hope anything else you want to bless us with in the best ball mindset for this year before we let you go and get into a draft ourselves?
No, good luck in the draft. Yeah, thank you guys for having me on. Happy to come back at another point when we get some more stuff released. And happy to come on.
You're not even going to shill an Alabama rookie that we should be drafting? Come on.
I mean, Jermaine Burton, I guess.
All right. I guess now I need to fade him if you're not in on him. He's not at all.
I'm in on him. No, he's really good. It was just he's wide receiver 3 in Cincy, so we'll see. He's definitely a talent, though.
We spent 3 years drafting Tyler Boyd in the top 120.
We did,
and Tyler Boyd kind of sucks.
Yeah.
So you're making the case that I should have a shitload of him if I'm hearing.
Well, Hope, we massively appreciate you taking the time to chat with us, and we will absolutely take you up on it to come back on at some point when you've got more fun contests, including, of course, the Pyrenees.
Of course.
When you drop the pier, you're welcome back on this channel. But until then, just know.
Love it.
So keep crushing it. The draft community absolutely appreciates you, and we will catch you soon, Hope. Catch you later.
Thank you, guys. Thanks for having me.
Tyler, time of draft. Should we jump into a BBM?
It's time to rock and roll.
Let's fire this up. So if you're in the chat, jump in now if you want to draft along with us. Let's see.
Chat, I know you've been waiting for me to say this, so here's your moment. Fill me out. Come on. Let's go.
Tyler, you've been drafting a lot this week?
Oh, a gross amount, yeah. Well, they dropped the palm, and then been trying to keep my pulse on the ADP and keeping my weekend. Any activity I have to do, I convince myself to do it because I'm like, well, I'll draft. Gotta wash the dishes? Let me rip a draft. I gotta go grocery shopping? Let me rip a draft. Some of those drafts end up really shitty then, but try to get the volume down. And I still didn't max the palm because like a bunch of gross, selfish people, Robert knows. I had a bunch of I had a gender reveal party, which I just feel gross saying that. I was not having a good time the entire time I was there, but I got sucked into a conversation. I got bored within 30 minutes, slammed a palm, got sucked into a conversation about recycling again.
You drafted a gender reveal party.
I did. I was like, let's get to it, and then forgot, and then caught it like 10 rounds late, and had like a 4 QB, 3 tight end, 3 running back, 2 receiver start, and I was like, I did my best to save it, and it's dead. But but I drafted all weekend long. Drafted it. Was playing some pool, slamming some shots. Kept forgetting I was on the clock. Missing every other pick. Ended up with like half filling the palm. So that was my weekend, trying to keep it afloat.
Anthony, we appreciate you being able to check us out live for the first time. Hit the like button if you have not already.
Yes, people, get those likes up. If we hit 100 likes, the full emo cowboy experience is coming to you live, and some other fun things. So get them up. It's for you.
Got at least 69 more likes to go tonight. In terms of in this room, I see Amiga King sitting at the 106 there. That's always a sign that this draft room could be pretty sharp. Who else we got in here, Tyler?
Jewish McCaffrey from the 2 hole, Hoosier in the
Nice.
7 hole. Yeah, FF Links in the 11 hole. And then I love the 3 hole. That's fantastic. As a man that's been hitting the gym and hitting the protein these days. Also a Knuckles reference, and that show on Paramount sucks, by the way. Just cringe levels of bad. Sorry.
So I was gonna say we're drafting from 104, which feels like a nice bit of a change. We've been.
I hate the 4 hole. I hate it. I have an unfun suggestion for you. If it falls the way I think it's gonna fall.
Oh, I'm absolutely down for fun suggestions. It feels like we're kind of into that lull now. We've ADP settled. It takes quite a bit to move stuff right now, and it's going to be this way for a few weeks. So in some of my drafts, more so when I've been drawing the 101 or the 112, I've definitely been getting a little bit freaky with some of my picks. And I think last week I went on Neil's channel and took Cooper Kupp from the 301 just because I wanted to live a little. And if there's one thing last year's best ball season,
felt good to break free from the chains of ADP.
It felt amazing. And when Cooper Kupp smashes, it's going to be a great year.
Okay, I'm just not into Jamar Chase from 4, so I'm thinking one of these 3 guys. What, you have a lean?
I think I'd go. It's got to be Justin Jefferson or Amon Ra at the 4 for me. I'll let you pick one of those 2. I don't think I can take Bijan there because I see Bijan sometimes fall as far as like the 109. So
we'll be a little nitty then. All right, that's fair. That's fine. I'm not gonna be mad about Justin Jefferson. We're just
so talk to me about why you don't want to go Jamar Chase out of a 104.
So I've talked about this a little bit on Discord and on Twitter, and I'm just struggling with his price. Yeah, what's up? Welcome, Bubba. I'm struggling with the Jamar Chase thing because, looking back the last 2 years, his huge ceiling games are few and far between, truly, from like a separating, given his cost. Like he's going in the first round, the first 5-6 picks, like the last few years. And his huge games are coming when T. Higgins is missing time, which, isn't great that he has to hit, in order for like his ceiling points per game is capped when T. Higgins is out there because T. Higgins is a good target earner. And when he's not, forgetting how to catch the ball, he's putting up big spike weeks himself. They draft Jermaine Burton, who can play on the inside and the outside. They've talked about Chase moving into the slot. So I'm having I wanted to be in on Chase moving into the slot because that could make it really easy to hit. But at the same time, it's like now Tyler Boyd was a really dusty, shitty player in the slot. Now Chase gets some of those easy slot catches, but at the same time, Jermaine Burton is going to be another better quality target in this offense. So it's just like Chase hitting his ceiling now becomes harder to do because if T goes down, I'm projecting Burton to be an equally good target earner on the outside. So it's like his outs now are kind of, and I feel like Jamar Chase was kind of priced the two things in mind. T may get moved and he gets to just soak it all up, which Burton's now there. So like he's kind of the T replacement, to be honest. We don't know if he's good, but all the film and analytics bros say he's really good. He just had red flags from a character perspective. And also, wow, remember that 40-point game he had? Yeah, he had that. But he was like the only receiver on the field that was like crushing. So it's tough for me to see like how does he hit that like nut ceiling outcome to be right there with Chase and Hill and CD if he's got that much competition. And it's tough for me to swallow at that price, given all of that. And he's probably going to shove it down my throat regardless. But it's tough.
Yeah, I think I definitely don't feel as strongly about it as yourself. I think the Burton question is definitely worth bringing up, and the Higgins stuff is interesting. But as our friend Jewish McCaffrey says in the chat, don't we have to give last season a bit of a pass for Joe Burrow's calf? My main kind of worry is just Joe Burrow in general. Like, he always seems to get banged up coming into the season. T. Higgins seems to be in and out of the lineup, and it's finding that consistency. And if I try to map out Jamar Chase wide receiver 1 overall outcomes, it does come back to a lot of T. Higgins will miss. I think I'm absolutely still in because of the 1 week scenarios and stuff, and I think that he can go close enough toe to toe with a lot of these guys that he won't lose ground. Robert saying you get JJ pretty regularly at 107 on DK, which is effing insane. I'll be drafting on DK tomorrow with Colm Kelly from RotoViz, and then on Wednesday, Pat Crane will be joining me for a DraftKings draft. So if you want effing insane draft rooms, come and join us. But yeah, back to Jamar Chase. I don't know, man. I think if T. Higgins had been traded, then he would be the 101. But let's get back to our pick. In terms of players here, I know we both like a lot of Deebo Samuel. I've been scooping up some Kyron Williams lately, kind of fading the fear from some people. Do you think we need to get a bit different? We're starting to build quite similarly a lot of these weeks, Tyler.
Well, I think differentiation can come in the later parts of the draft, and it usually does. I have a sneaking suspicion it'll be forced upon us, given this is a sharp room where Waddle goes 19. And I'm comfortable kind of pushing with this corner, but I'm not gonna argue or fight here. But Deebo, I don't mind it.
Let's go Nico then.
All right. Hey, I'm rocking all the Astros gear. I don't mind going with a Houston boy.
So, since the Week 17 schedule was announced, and obviously one of the big ones was the Texans and the Ravens, how much have you been kind of leaning towards those little correlations at the top of the draft? Because that game is so top-heavy.
Quite a bit, but I'm trying to do it from like a mini correlation standpoint, just because, Pat made a really good point on Legendary Upside Pod, that, you don't want to jam-pack correlation at the top of drafts, given that forces like all that draft capital. That game has to shoot out or you're kind of toast. And then you've got the added like tough needle to thread that they also share the same bye week. So I think you're probably putting yourself in too much of a bind by forcing the issue with like more than 3 or 4 picks. But I definitely want to mix in kind of like if I can get, the QB wide receiver combo with a bring back, it's not too hampering, but ideally you want to see kind of like some ADP helping out, or you're going into that knowing, this is your 3-piece, either like a double stack or a bring back given the cost, and then knowing that you kind of have to build out some other things that kind of help you keep it afloat and then also give you some outs. It's tough. It's a game. So we know we're smashing, right?
Yeah, I'll take Kyron.
I had a feeling we get him to come back in the third. So yeah, it's tough. I want pieces of that, but I also don't want to hamper myself doing that. Knowing that it's gonna be popular to stack up and remembering that like the Dallas game, for example, like Amon-Ra, CeeDee Lamb was a like need to have leverage piece, but you could just have that from that game and be okay. You didn't need 5+ pieces to get there and do the thing.
Yeah, and obviously there's the big part of it that both the Texans and the Ravens are on week 14 buys as well. I want to circle back to Jewish McCaffrey's point. Could we discuss the Waddle steam? Guy's going to be a mid-second rounder pretty soon. When BBM drafts opened, he was down at pick 29. So, I mean, moving 10 spots at this range of a draft, it's not easy. It's definitely, it's something which it takes a lot of people drafting players to kind of get them going up that high. And I'm fine with it on Waddle to an extent. I think you kind of look at that second round, and there's some players that feel pretty ugly. I mean, I know a lot of people have been talking about the second round and how difficult the wide receiver range is when you look at guys like Brandon Ayuk, who hasn't really done it to the level that he's been drafted at. Devontae Adams, who's a bit older, Chris Olave, who's been a bit up and down, and then guys like Mike Evans, Nico Collins. I kind of understand it with Jalen Waddle because we've definitely seen some big performances, and last year he just seemed like he was constantly injured. So if Waddle's healthy, if Tua learns to play in the cold, then perhaps we see it. So I don't mind it with Waddle, but I think if he leaps Olave and Devontae Adams, I'd struggle to see myself drafting more than 10% of him. Tyler, like, what kind of range do you think you'd end up with Waddle if he made that jump?
I mean, I think it just really comes down to, Yosh kind of says kind of what I was thinking was that, I think this is a little bit of sharp crowds are going to start remembering muscle memory with ADP, and it's already happened with a few players who just refuse to move. So I think it's likely to happen because when everyone is saying the second round kind of sucks and why are people here, I think you're gonna see guys just start to go, well, if it's all flat, and if everybody's gonna keep saying it's all kind of flat, you gotta take who you take, and you're gonna have folks that just say, hey, when projections come out or builds come out, I'm just gonna go with what feels good, and if it's all flat, it doesn't matter. And so I think you're gonna see players like that either rubber band back to where they were going, or you're just gonna see that on a more often basis of just going, I kind of like that. And then as ADP shifts, we will get to a point where if news doesn't shift it one way or the other, ADP kind of like you're gonna get pockets of the summer where ADP just kind of gets stale and locks in. So, I'm pretty much at the point where I'm mixing in whoever in the second and third round because it's a flat tier, and I'm not trying to be out on any one player. I know Jalen Waddle got a little bit of leg up steam specifically when they said a couple guys like Sack and others were like, I'm just taking him in the second to get him all the time. And also, like, from a macro, like, simpleton bro standpoint, fantasy, especially expensive top of the draft, we want access to, like, high-scoring offenses and high-scoring games. And if we put blinders on of, like, we don't know what the weather's going to be like, we don't know what the defense is going to be like, we just want pieces and access to high-scoring offenses. Jalen Waddle is one of the few that we know for sure this is going to be a high-scoring, concentrated offense, and he has really good underlying metrics if he stays healthy and doesn't go into the blue tent, 3 times a game. So I totally get it. I will want some of him. I will probably at times lean, I want the wide receiver 1 on a team that can really pop off, or the guy that can have just an absurd ceiling in 1 week in best ball when push comes to shove more oftentimes than not. In
Tyler,
that round range.
You're just letting me tie all this into other content and other bits of stuff that's bubbling away in my mind.
That's what we do.
Because the video I put out over the weekend about drafting elite tight ends and why I'm so in on it, and 6 of the top 7 most expensive tight ends are inside the top 10 teams in terms of projected implied team totals for the fantasy playoffs. So, I mean, like you say, betting on offenses and betting on good offenses always feels good to me, and that's something I've been prioritizing in my drafts over the last week. So we're 1 pick away. We've got ourselves Kyron Williams, Justin Jefferson's, Nico Collins. What's catching your eye at the top here?
Do we want to make a new Lamar team?
I mean, I'm always down for Lamar teams. I think it would give us the option of Mark Andrews around the corner, which would be nice if it comes back. But otherwise, I'm fine with Christian Kirk. He's the player I've been clicking a bit more often.
Let's try to make it Lamar. I know our little neighbor over here, Jewish McCaffrey, staring down the barrel in a pretty good piss boy draft. So I'm not tempted by Josh Jacobs taking Kyron. Betting that he's going to be the workhorse. I feel much better about Kyron than I do Jacobs from a macro level. I'm not really tempted by that. I'd rather have access to the cheaper pieces in a high scoring offense with a. It's no secret. I put out my exposures going into today, and I have a crap load of Lloyd.
I mean, at this point in the year, it's kind of worth taking your stands. I'm not going to worry about any of my exposures on players for probably at least another month. Yeah, it's like I'm clicking and I'm seeing them, and I'm seeing occasionally it'll pop up because I use the spike week overlays, but I've got like 30-40% on players. But there goes Mark Andrews at the turn and Christian Kirk.
At two Mfonte, more like mother.
Well,
Bitch energy on Memorial Day.
So here's the question: do we want one of the last elite tight ends, or should we pivot and keep stacking up some wide receivers as we've taken a couple of diversions already?
I think it's an easy decision for wide receiver for me. I'm not too tempted by Dalton Kincaid without any sort of correlation or stack at this price. I'd much rather have Kittle later on.
Yeah, for me, this is an easy toss-up between Keenan Allen or Terry McLaurin. If Pickens had been there, I would have been open to an argument you could have made.
There's been some Hollywood Brown steam, and I haven't taken much of him. I don't know if there's any temptation there from you.
So, I mean, I've definitely been benefited from Hollywood Brown and been stung for him over the years, but I'd take Keenan Allen coming off 11.5 targets per game, like led the NFL. I think he's just going to earn them. And like... some of the Hollywood Brown steam over the weekend seemed to be because he was sat next to Patrick Mahomes courtside. Hollywood Brown has a way of becoming a quarterback's best friend. When he was in Baltimore, he used to pick Lamar Jackson up and drive him in for practices. And then, of course, he gets traded to be Kyler Murray's best friend in Arizona.
He's just a homie.
Yeah, like he is absolutely the guy who just never lets you pay for a coffee. He's always like, no, I got this. Don't worry about it. Even though his quarterbacks are making 5 times as much as him, if not 100 times as much as him.
Right.
But
yeah.
I like Kyler Murray, and I think he's absolutely going to have some really good weeks this year. But I think on a week in, week out basis, Keenan Allen's going to be stronger. And I think for our wide receiver room, having 2 wide receivers already, I'd rather bank on Keenan Allen. Where I find myself taking taking Hollywood's when I've got 3 or 4 wide receivers already.
Yeah, I haven't taken a lot of Keenan just because like there is like the age cliff concern and then the new target competition concern. But from the standpoint of we know he's a huge target earner. He's gonna soak up. And then I've kind of been talking myself into, the Seattle offense is really exciting from a standpoint of like it might have like a modern day coach helming everything and Mike McDonald. And then an OC from a modern NFL and college standpoint, like really vertical, efficient pass. Mina Kimes over the weekend pointed out, much to my chagrin, reminding me how bad the Seattle offensive line was at giving up pressure and how well Geno performed, despite being pressured. I think it was like 49.5% or something insane on third downs because they had like a bottom 10 rush efficiency on first and second down, and they were one of the highest rate of early rushes. So we could see Seattle bounce back in a really big, meaningful way, where DK and Lockett and even JSN can like really score a lot of points and push teams. And from that standpoint, if they're pushing teams and scoring on offense, well, then that should push the other team. And so getting a piece of that Week 17 game that could be really, really high scoring, akin to that old BBM2 Seattle game, where Amon-Ra and Rashad Penny go back and forth. So I like getting access to a team that could be facing a really high-powered passing offense late in the year.
Yep, I like that. Yoshi, we'll get to your question in a second. Do we want Kittle here? I'm fine with it, or I'm fine with stacking the Bears and seeing if Kittle comes back around the corner.
Let's look at the board. See if we can't.
Yeah, I mean,
Let's play a
what
little bit
Mon-
of game of chicken. Do you want Rome or Lad?
I'd go Rome and lean into the Bears stack.
Okay. I'm just trying to get more Lad. As like an athletic young play and target hog offense. Younger, fresher Keenan Allen legs.
I
have a sneaky suspicion Kittle might make it back around the turn if Jewish McCaffrey's trying to catch up at wide receiver.
I just find 6th round Lad McConkey just still feels a little expensive, and so
I just think he's going to get more expensive.
Yeah, and that's a big part of what I'm trying to adjust with my rankings at the minute. Try to stay ahead on players where I'm not really heavily in on them, but if we don't get them now, then it's really going to be hard to get them later on in the season.
I think he's probably going to easily flip Jaden whenever the projections come out, and I think you're going to just have him. He and Terry McLaurin are probably like back to back. Xavier and Jaden probably fall a bit. Rome, from a talent standpoint, I'm very in on, but it is just a crowded room with a rookie receiver. And JJ Zacharyason's talked about, like, historically that's tougher from a redraft standpoint. It's like a thinner bet, but from a rookie 1 week late season, it's a good, exciting bet. So I'm trying to mix them in. Slam dunk, right? We made the right bet.
Works for me. So I'd say my argument for Rome over Lad, it just kind of comes back to where I see the offense as being later on in the season. If we're hedging against Keenan Allen and saying, okay, well, he picks up injuries, blah, DJ Moore is somebody who's been perfectly healthy at times. So, he disappears. Perhaps he doesn't connect with Caleb Williams in the same way as Rome does. But rookies, year after year, we see them constantly take that big step down the stretch. So I don't mind if Rome Odunze isn't a great pick throughout the season. And I've realized it's a bit of a chicken shit answer, because with rookies, we can constantly kind of be saying, I'm just counting on them by the playoffs. But there's so many rookies who just really start to dominate and take on a strong role by the end of the season as the team starts to appraise what they've got heading into the next one. So, yeah, I mean, I'm fine with it.
It's fine. It's just I've never watched Moana. I don't know. This seems like a really good joke, but I don't know. Explain.
My kids haven't watched Moana in a few years, so we're gonna have to throw that one back to McCaffrey and see what he comes back with.
Hold on, what is it? What is this? Brother, how far I'll go? Is that the oh, you're welcome. I got it. Okay, he did. C. Well, that's what I figured. I'm like, he's got to. Yeah, there's no way he can. Also, like, triple stacking San Francisco. It sounds fun in theory, but from like a single week, like week 17 standpoint, yeah, it's probably a lot of cannibalizing. But from a playoff week standpoint, you're hoping to ping pong, but it's tough. Especially, I think he probably goes and does that if he doesn't take the second receiver in the top 3 rounds, which I had a feeling because it's a sharp dog. So muchas gracias.
We're gonna dig into some of the deep stuff within best ball as we go, but I can't let this one go. Purple Yosh saying, I watched Moana. Not bad. I watched Finding Nemo in a cinema on magic mushrooms. That's hands down one of the best experiences of my life. And forever, P. Sherman 42 Wallaby UA Sydney will be ingrained in my mind. So if you too have watched Pixar films, Disney films on hallucinogenics, drop them in the chat. We're not narcs here. We just want to hear it.
Dude, this is a IT 11 hole. My God.
So just recap that one for us.
Yeah, the 11 hole FF Lynx, who I see a lot in these streets, but Garrett Wilson, Marvin Harrison Jr., Derrick Henry, Cooper Kupp, you're like, okay, let him cook. And then Rashad White, Joe Mixon, Jonathan Brooks, DeAndre Swift. It's like, my God, you glutton.
So what's that, 5 altogether?
5 running backs in the first 8 rounds. I mean, the correlation is there. You got to hand it to him. But that's as Danny would say, I hate to hand it to him. It's got correlation, but that's probably jumping the shark a bit on correlation over roster construction. That's tough.
Yeah, it's a bold strategy, Cotton. We'll see if it pays off.
I watched back to the movie thing because that's a fun topic. I watched Murder on the Orient Express, I think is what that movie's called.
Yeah.
Drunk with My Buddy. That was a lot of fun. It's a whodunit. Oh, hold on, I'll get back to this.
Yeah.
Assuming running back or receiver here.
Yeah, I mean, I'd possibly push towards wide receiver, but
I don't think he's
nobody I
coming
feel
back.
strong.
So I think
Yeah, Tyler Lockett was the one that like I was kind of eyes towards. I do like me some Curtis Samuel, but I think this build, I'm just a little happier taking Tyler Lockett if we want to hedge against Roma Dunze having a big role for most of the
also
season.
it's just a bring back, you know. If Keenan and Rome somehow both get there week 17, it's very likely that one of Lockett, JSN, or Metcalf, if not two of them, make it like a useful bring back. And Lockett famously had a pretty damn good week 17 on a much worse offense. And if this is a better offense, and he's sometimes, I mean, we're betting on some olds finding the age curve, but I don't mind it given their profiles of like 20 plus points per game.
Yeah, so we've got a few outs to some later stacks for our second quarterback. Any of those kind of like standing out as guys worth looking at in the near future to you, or do you feel like you want to grab another running back before we get into the double-digit rounds?
I mean,
Is Purdy gone already?
We could be done with a Caleb double stack with a bring back. I think the spreadsheet bros would like that a lot, so I'm open to it. But I'm also comfortable pushing.
I'd be happy taking Caleb. I think then you've either got yourself a really nice week 17 stack with the Seahawks playing the Bears, or you've got Lamar potentially being a drop of 30 burger on a team like he did last year. So, I mean, we call this 2 QB build for sure. I think, with Kittle, sometimes you want to look at a 3 tight end build, but we can just start hammering running backs in a range of drafts, which I know that's where I end up taking a lot of running backs.
Yeah, same. I also like in this room, we're watching as guys are grabbing their stacks. Kyler goes early. Love goes right at ADP. Burrow falls late, but is skinny stacked with T. Higgins. But this is a sharp room where they're gonna grab their guys and stack. Well, I say sharp room and a couple of wild cards at the back end. So I don't mind if we taking 2 of his pass catchers and having a bring back. I think you're better off just grabbing that, locking that down. You've made that bet, move forward with it, and stack elsewhere.
Yeah, and as Meatwad says, 2 Chicago receivers feels like a big bet on Caleb too, so that's a great spot to end off at QB.
Yeah. Plus, he's got nice rushing upside as well, so it's a nice bet.
So in terms of Chicago as a team, I think they're definitely one of the more interesting teams this year in terms of what they can be offensively, in terms of what they've done to surround Caleb with talent. Have you been drafting any Cole Kmet? He's a player I really struggle with.
I mean, I'm taking him whenever he falls like 15 to 20 picks past ADP, or I have Caleb or like a Chicago stack. But he's just going in a pocket where I'm usually hammering my like last attempt desperation wide receiver, got to catch up, or running back pocket. So it's less about him at that point, more of like I view him and Hunter Henry as not 2 dissimilar players, and Henry allows me to kind of like punt it a little bit later. So yeah, right. Yeah. Famously, OTAs is where Patrick Mahomes threw 7 interceptions, dropped 2 or 3 rounds that summer, and then went on to destroy fantasy football in the real NFL league. So
pretty sure Lamar Jackson had 5 interceptions in one practice last year as well. So
I hate for quarterbacks to just kind of test the balance of their receivers and their arm and really dial it in. You know what? Actually, let's call it dog factor. If you're not getting intercepted multiple times a practice, you are not trying. You're not pushing the boundaries. And when the chips fall, you're playing scared in the real league. And it's like the Goff, like twinkle toes years where it was just like, it's pressure. I was shocked in that playoff game when he like shifted, missed that pressure to like throw the ball. It was nearly hitting the ground. That was a tough play for Josh Reynolds. But like, there were years where like Goff was, didn't have that dog in him to handle pressure. So it's take notice who's actually pushing the boundaries in practice.
Exactly. Not threading the needle enough. Low T. Absolutely. In terms of a draft, can you just recap our team for us, Tyler, before we end up on the clock again?
We've got a 2-1-5-1 build with Lamar and Caleb Williams at quarterback, Kyron Williams as our running back anchor in the third round, Justin Jefferson, Nico Collins, Keenan Allen, Roma Dunze, and Tyler Lockett at wide receiver, and a delightful 10-pick ADP Awu George Kittle at tight end. Very nice build so far, if I do say so myself.
Lovely stuff. How much have you been doing 2 QB builds compared to 3 QB builds this year?
It's probably like 50-50. I mean, like the 3 QBs is probably if I don't get an elite guy, which does happen quite a bit because I'm trying to like, get a lot of the top tier receivers and set up stacks. But when it falls right with an elite plus an interesting, guy, it's probably like 50-50 right now if I take a guess.
Cool. So we're back on the clock. Running back territory.
Yeah, they just kind of suck.
Yeah. For me, the guy who kind of stands out, it's either Zach Charbonnet, Jerome Ford, or Blake Corum.
I mean, at that point, I don't think we can take Corum with Kyron. So,
good shout. Yeah, my bad.
there you go. Yeah. We're on the turn. ADP reaches. They have to happen when you want your guys. I'm not taking Nick Chubb right now. He needs to drop more. He's going to start on the pop.
I'd take Jerome Ford ahead of Nick Chubb straight up right now. I think that, we're looking at another 20 spot drop for Nick Chubb at some point, and that's when, plenty of smart people have made this point. That's the time to draft players who are coming off injuries.
I could go on a long soliloquy about that, but the TLDR is no Chubb for me above 135. And if you know my bit and my gimmicks, that's I don't say that lightly.
So one player kind of catch my eye a little bit, who it doesn't feel like the right time in terms of construction, but Dalton Schultz give us a little bit more Lamar Jackson correlation for week 17. You got any interest in pushing that to just build out on Lamar, given that we don't have anything stacked with him currently?
That's a good shout from a correlation standpoint, but I kind of don't mind what we have right now of just like quarterback with a wide receiver bring back, knowing we're probably going to stack him up later on and maybe take, the backup there. So I don't love Schultz right there, given I don't mind it, but I don't love it.
So talk to me. What are we doing then? Because the running backs are ugly.
This sucks, but these are the 3 guys I'm kind of looking at with a little bit of correlation there. Thoughts?
I'm gonna say let's go Jacoby Myers and just kind of sort.
I think we're gonna like the running back pocket coming back around, and I don't want to be super behind at wide receiver either. And I think Jacoby's undervalued and a nice piece, especially with I think we can say a high volatile but high ceiling rookie in our room right now, and I think we both want to target a late rookie receiver again for that stack and boost. So why not kind of pad the floor a little bit? Especially because I think we got some solid running backs so far, and I'm confident we can build out some fun stuff coming back around.
Yeah, I know. I definitely agree. I think it's like Jacoby Myers is probably not going to be incredible for fantasy this year, but he has a habit of kind of popping up for really nice weeks. And I have been taking Zeke. I know some people are completely out on him.
I'm taking Zeke. It is what it is.
Yeah, you just have to hold your nose and kind of get on with it. I know that his success rate last year was like a career low. I know that he had career low in terms of like long runs and stuff like that. But the point about him being able to catch a shitload of balls is so relevant. He's a good pass protector and has been so. So yeah, I'm fine with taking Zeke. But
in this house, I'm a big fan of anybody that catches a ton of balls. And then I mean, like, somebody's gonna do red zone, right? And they like and trust him. And you can like Rico as much as you want, but 4th, 5th year player, like meh profile, like you want pieces of that offense and they're cheap, so it is what it is. But I'm only taking him in like builds where like 0 running back, where like Mostert used to be like a guy who was like gross and old and popped off. So it's like in zero running back builds and in like hero running back builds, ugly can be good if ugly is a vehicle to do what you need to do. But I get it. I mean, you're not super scared of him. That meme is great. Jewish McCaffrey has a question about Deshaun Watson. He was ass most of last year, and that's not shocking. They changed OCs to Ken Dorsey, which I think is a positive for the pass offense. I think it's a better fit for Deshaun going into more of a spread, like empty backfield setup. I think that benefits players like Jerome Ford as a pass catching back a lot. And the problem is he still sucks. He's got a shoulder injury that he's now he's still doing like every other day practices to make sure. And as someone rehabbing, his shoulder right now himself, you can't fight against time. Time is what you need, but you also need reps and you also need strength. So I think a lot of people are going to be like, hey, he's too cheap, blah, 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 blah. But, really his rushing wasn't as good as you would have wanted it from what I recall. And his passing was way, way worse than what it was. And his turnovers were higher. And so all those questions still exist.
He had 14 passing touchdowns and 9 interceptions. And people talk about how he had 3 games over 19 fantasy points last year, and he didn't play many games. But they came against the week 1 Bengals, whose defense was a complete mess, the Titans, who were a pass funnel and we targeted all year, and the Cardinals, who were a complete mess, particularly towards the start of the season, and was somebody that we targeted in DFS regularly. So for me, I just find it very difficult to want to take him at any point. If I am taking him, it's in a 3 quarterback build only, and it's normally where I've got some kind of correlation bubbling, because I just don't believe that he's ever really going to return to what he was. But if he does, obviously he'll be a big bargain.
I'm more comfortable taking Brown's pieces, knowing that his spike weeks will spike those guys, and I can hopefully get more around in a better quarterback, or Jameis just comes in and lights it up because his shoulder sucks by the end of the year. ¿Por qué?
I mean, let's go with your boy, Marshawn Lloyd. I mean,
Oh, yeah. All right, monumental moment. Marshawn Dog Lloyd. Let's go.
What point will too much exposure to Marshawn Lloyd, even at this early stage in contest, feel like too much for you, Tyler?
I famously am a glutton for punishment, so even when it starts hurting, I probably won't stop until someone smarter than me says stop. And that's probably not going to be anytime soon, considering that Josh Jacobs is mending his hammy and McFleur still goes McFleur every other week is getting retweeted by Coach Speak Index about how much he likes him and how good he's doing. So it's not happening anytime soon. No one's icing this half chub anytime.
Yeah, and shout out to Coach Speak Index. I think one of the most unique ideas on Twitter, and one of the most useful. Somebody who every time I'm doom scrolling, always stop to check out theirs. If you hadn't heard already, DraftKings Draft tomorrow with Colin Kelly from RotoViz. DraftKings Draft on Wednesday with Pat Carrain. Going to dive into the kind of quarterback landscape.
I'm so happy. Yes.
Yep, Ty Chandler, our boy. We seem to draft him.
The pocket worked. We did it. Yay.
60% of the time it works every time. So I mean, now we're in a much better position in terms of our structure. But yeah, we've got lots coming on the channel. So if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button. Tyler, why don't you recap it for us?
All right. Loving how this team is going. By the way, I have a lot of Marshawn Lloyd and Ty Chandler combos. So I love investing in that week 17 game. But roster as it is through 13 rounds, Lamar Jackson, Caleb Williams holding it down for the underground at quarterback. At running back, we got Kyron Williams, Zach Nice Glass of Charbonnet, Marshawn That Dude Lloyd, and Ty, I think he can get there, Chandler at running back, with Justin Jefferson, Nico Collins, Keenan Allen, Roma Dunze, Tyler Lockett, Jacoby Myers. At wide receiver, still rocking solo George third leg Kittle. Oh, good note on George Kittle I wanted to point out for the news hounds in the chat as a reward for sticking around this long. And right right as I'm about to give you this tasty, juicy nugget, please hit that like button. Please hit that subscribe button. Every like, every subscription counts. Every comment after the video, big help. We have some fun things planned for 2,500 subs and 3K subs. Some real fun stuff. And any video that gets 100 likes, I will live emo cowboy, full eyeliner, bangs, black cowboy hat, etc. Shill it out. But for George Kittle, one of the fantasy docs that I trust a lot noted last year, and I had forgotten this, that he played most of the season with a groin strain. And despite that, still put up some really good numbers in fantasy points, and is Madison Parkhill in your awesome video this week. And if you didn't see it, check it out here on the Fantasy Sanctuary on elite tight end and its value in fantasy football, specifically in these contests like BBM. Despite that groin strain all year, his underlying metrics that Madison Parkhill pulled still very, very elite, very good for his age. So if he comes in this season healthier, with an offense that's rolling, and if any of those guys like Ayuk or Debo miss time, he still goes back to that 3 touchdown spike week potential. But what if his floor gets better because he's just healthier and he's able to do more with those catches? So very, very fun season in store potentially for George Kittle.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I was kind of out on George Kittle at cost last year because so much of his production the previous year had come through touchdowns, but last year it really seemed like it balanced out in a much better way, and I'm definitely happy to take him at cost this year. And generally, I'm just kind of happy to be taking the Niners apart from Ayuk, because Ayuk just feels a little too pricey for something I haven't quite seen yet. And I know that's the kind of take that when you put that out there on Twitter, people get big mad at you. But look, people aren't getting big mad at you for your opinions, then you're probably playing things a little too safe. We do have a comment in the chat from Chris saying, bye week bros coming for you at RB. How bad is it, Tyler?
Oh no, we have 2 backup running backs with the same bye week. We are so spooked.
We'll figure that out.
I think we'll survive.
We'll be okay. So in terms of the draft, what do you kind of see as the priorities for us in the next round or two?
Probably running back and tight end.
Yep.
Or probably the pockets we want to play.
In terms of correlation, we've got a few nice things bubbling. We've obviously got the Seahawks and Chicago stuff. We've got Minnesota, Green Bay. It just feels like it's kind of ticking along quite nicely without us having to have had big reaches for any of this really so far. What's been your favorite kind of correlation that you've been hitting on that you feel is underappreciated?
Probably Las Vegas, New Orleans is a fun one just because the pieces are so cheap for the most part, and both defenses could be pretty ragtag bad, or both coaching staffs trying to make it look as good as possible before they are evaluated at the end of the season. And like I said, Seattle, Chicago's got some sneaky fun stuff. And then, just getting pieces of Cleveland, Miami, fading the weather concerns. So
back on the clock. Do you want to go another running back? Kamani Vidal, Jaleel McLaughlin, kind of sitting there, or we could look at Rashad Bateman for the Lamar stack and be kind of pretty close to being done at wide receiver.
This is kind of who I'm eyeing here. I kind of like Henry with Kittle for like some of the floor in a Stefanski style offense, but if you want Rashad,
I'd take Rashad for the stack. Yeah, I mean, I definitely am in on Hunter Henry as well, but part of me was just looking at Juwan Johnson, which would give us that New Orleans, Las Vegas kind of correlation to go with.
I don't mind it.
As a backup.
I will note some news houndery that I know this is early, but potentially Foster Moreau, who they signed last year, I believe, in the offseason, who dealt with some like low-level cancer stuff, and bounced back crazy well and faster than we all thought to get on the field last year, is potentially mixing in for starting reps early on in OTAs per Nick Underhill. So just something to keep in mind, smashing the value of one who I think still more talented, more likely to be the red zone guy, but Derek and Foster are homies, and if he eats into some of the snaps, That might be a concern more about just like the cost of Juwan, not necessarily his output.
Yeah, no, I'm right there with you. I think Juwan Johnson is going to be as volatile as they come at the tight end position, but down the stretch last year, he started to turn it on, tight end 1 in week 17. And it sounded like it took him and Derek Carr to get a little while to get on the same page, but particularly when we've got George Kittle, and that's what we're kind of counting and putting a lot of our eggs into, I'm fine taking Juwan at this point.
Just getting grown-ass men who just catch touchdowns at tight end. I'm not mad at it.
I mean, I'm a big fan of guys who catch touchdowns. I don't know if that's controversial in this day and age, but
I will say I think the upside for Juwan is, and Juwan talked about this 2 years ago, is that they have him play the Michael Thomas box out red zone role, and when Michael Thomas has missed time, he kind of plays that like run, big body, turn around, box out, catch the touchdown role in the offense. And Michael Thomas is gone, and they didn't really draft anybody or sign anybody in free agency who plays a big body red zone role. So I think that's still an upside point for Juwan, even with Taysom still being in the mix.
So after our pick, we see Luke McCaffrey going, then Zay Jones. I think 15th round might be the earliest I've seen Zay Jones go so far.
Yeah,
Is
that's
that
spicy.
Yeah, I mean,
he has Kyron, so I think no, he doesn't. Never mind. Interesting.
Yeah, and
he's got Trey Benson, so I guess he's just going for correlation late.
Yeah. We've got Jewish McCaffrey saying, I haven't drafted a 40 team yet this year, but honestly think it may be optimal for this team. So
I think you helped yourself with Henry. I think you can get by depending on who the 3 are. And it just, I mean, I could have sworn we saw data that just 4 tight end was just so bad for a lot of reasons. I think you just got to accept that your tight end room is going to suck, and maybe it outperforms true suck, but the position just as a whole doesn't score a whole lot. So I feel like if you miss out on the elites, I think you're better off just like not hurting your roster by putting another shitty empty calorie guy in your roster.
Yeah, so over the course of the last 3 years, it's advanced at a negative rate according to Rotoviz's Underdog Advanced Rate Explorer at like 15.4%, so below the 16.7% we want. Last year it was at 15.2. Year before it was at 15.4, and back in 2021 it worked and was 17%. But there were only 2,000 teams that did it, so it's definitely growing in popularity though. Like from that year where there was 2,000 teams, last year it hit up to a point where there were 21,000 teams that did it. It had a positive advance rate in the semifinals and in the finals, so you can kind of make an argument for it. I just don't think it's something. Yeah, I mean, much like Jewish said, like he's saying, please talk us out of it. It just doesn't feel very good at a onesie position. I'd be more tempted to do it on 20 round best ball where you've got
18 rounds seems tough. Yeah. I think the case for it is probably it's a playoff gauntlet play where you're having access to just more volume out of volatile position, which I think has merit. And then you just have to approach it in a negative advance rate state of mind. So, and I think that helps with having a McCaffrey team. If you're betting on McCaffrey and you handled your shit well early and you just decided I'm going to punt tight end late and go 4 because I'm going to catch up a receiver, which is more important in this format, and I have an advance rate like supercharged player in CMC, playing it that way at a sharp level, which Jewish McCaffrey is sharp, I think that's how you make it viable.
I think the biggest problem for me as well is like quite often 40 tight end teams, you make that decision to do it so late on because you get boxed out and you boxed out that it's like, crap, I need 4 tight ends here. And by the final round, if everything's kind of been hoovered up, you could be really having to scroll down to find anyone even remotely viable. Like that's, I always feel that last pick just feels a bit dirty, and I'm not sure if I would have rather had a wide receiver.
You gotta be okay with the gross.
Yep. Speaking of gross, J.K. Dobbins at the top of ADP, slipping past by 15 spots. That's not enough for me.
No.
Isaiah Likely and Noah Fant. I mean, Likely give us the Ravens stack for a 3 tight end build, or Devontae Walker. But I mean, I'm fine with kind of any of these options or Elijah Mitchell.
I don't know if we want to go 3 tight end here. So I think we just take Walker and punt that decision a bit. Because I will say 4 running backs with Kyron. I like Zach Charbonnet. I like Lloyd. I like Chandler. But this may be a better 6 running back team potentially. And if you think that, then I think we probably just do 2 tight end, 2 QB. Thoughts?
Yeah, no, six running backs feels more of a priority than 3 tight ends. I
Yeah, I
don't
think we
hate
just
the
accept
third tight end
these
for
guys.
the sake of correlation, but I think we'd have to be done at wide receiver if we did that. So yeah, it's swings and roundabouts, but it's an okay pocket of the draft. And in terms of the running back, like Elijah Mitchell's the one who stands out for me. I know you like some CEH. Anybody else?
Nobody likes CEH, so I think he's going to be an easy last pick if that's who we did go with. But
Yeah,
I think I'd rather go Elijah Mitchell than Isaiah Likely from a lever standpoint and a need standpoint. I think he fits in well.
yeah, and also just adds to that San Francisco correlation with George Kittle. Of course, maybe he'll
At this
go.
cost, if he gives us a single game with 60 yards and a touchdown in mop up duty or in filling duty, that's helpful, especially having kind of 3 backups behind Kyron right now.
Yeah, I definitely don't want to jinx CMC in any way, shape, or form. But since he got to the Niners, he's been remarkably healthy for an older running back. And at a
Yeah.
certain point, you can't fight Father Time forever. So quite
See,
happy with
Jewish McCaffrey, I think you saved yourself. I think those 3 tight ends you feel pretty good about. Yeah, CMC's been pretty durable. His age clip, I don't think truly is there yet. I think the pass catching helps his load. Like the carries, he gets a lot of touches and carries, but I think the pass catching, the data shows that like pass catching helps kind of mitigate some of those versus 25 rushes a game. And he does get a lot of those rushes, and we've seen those games. But I will note that like the rushing efficiency of the line, I think helps him do a little bit less of the dirty work from a hit standpoint. And this is all kind of talking out of my ass a bit from a health standpoint, but it seems to be true. And sharper teams tend to have better strength and conditioning as well. And I think Shanny knows when to when they need to use him and when they don't need to use him. So yeah, but Elijah's still the guy they trust. I don't think he's likely to be usurped by Isaiah Garindo or Schrader unless we get that. I mean, it's been 2 years in a row. He's been the trusted backup. He's filled in as the workhorse, and I think Shanny's shown us he's a big trust guy. So unless we get news that someone's actually mixing in, and the RB2 role behind CMC is a valuable role. So in this build, we want handcuffs and upside darts and single week upside. And as I'm saying that, someone took my delicious gross CEH. So there you go.
bastard.
Sick behavior. Even I don't take CEH until the last round. Have some self-respect.
So Jewish asking, last question, is 4 wide receivers definitely too many to take from the same team? I go back and forth on this. Like, I'm a big proponent of stacking. We've talked quite a bit about skinny stacks and stuff. And I think skinny stacks are by far more efficient. And I think that skinny stacks are going to be more prevalent on winning teams. But I think your mega stacks absolutely give you the chance to access a higher ceiling, give you a chance to access more ways to sneak certain roster constructions and quarterbacks through to the finals.
Yeah.
So I definitely don't do it often, and I definitely would be very selective about which teams I do it on. But, realistically, how often are you going to do that? What, 1 out of every 50 drafts, 60, 70 drafts?
And cost is important, right? Like you're likely not taking 4 receivers from the same team within like the first 6 rounds. And he's specifically asking, about DJ Chark on the LA bet. And I think in an offense with an ambiguous wide receiver room, that makes more sense to take several guys from, because in his build, he's got 2 quarterbacks. So he's betting Herbert goes off and makes it happen. So from a single week upside, if you're going to take lots of volume, which he is going to, and then we know Chark is a profile of like, he had 2 touchdowns in the shitty Carolina scheme. So I think if Herbert's getting there, if you're taking 4 receivers from a Herbert team, but they're all pretty cheap and you're just trying to access the weeks they go off, that's a good, semifinals and finals bet, I think, because like you only need 3 receivers to truly hit. The flex can be a running back, but ideally it's 4 receivers, 4 from the same team. Well, that's only going to work if you've got the quarterback and the quarterback goes off. So I think it could work. But yeah, I'm with you. It's cost and it's a little bit prohibitive, kind of like the 4 tight end, but at least it's at the right position.
Yeah. So we're 2 picks away, 2582 with our last pick. Your boy CH is gone. We're probably still looking at running back with this room.
We're gonna have to get gross.
Yeah, I mean, for me, Dylan Lau, Bevan Hull. I can't do AJ Dillon, particularly not as we've already got Marshawn Lloyd. Yeah. I had somebody asking me about Jamal Williams the other day, and I was like, yeah, I can't.
Well, Rasheen Ali is an interesting upside dart rookie who does correlate, but I think it's kind of a
yeah.
And then Eric Gray's getting OTAs like backup running back over Tyrone Tracy, and apparently he had some positive buzz. So
I'd be fine with Eric Gray. I think that's kind of slightly more interesting and probably got a strong chance to play.
Yeah, I don't like it, but Pat Thorman and some other folks noted some pretty interesting coach speak from last year, and I think a lot of people are excited about Tyrone Tracy, but I think Tyrone Tracy is a thinner bet than maybe we want to be excited about. And Eric, if people are wrong about Tyrone Tracy, then yeah, it's just another handcuff with a guy who does get work a lot in Singletary, but Eric Gray, the RB2 in New York probably mixes in a little bit more than when Saquon was there, because Saquon was a true workhorse. Devin's probably not going to handle 25 to 29 touches a game. It's probably going to be closer to 17 to 20 range. So someone's going to have a few others.
Yeah, and if this becomes a Drew Lock offense by kind of the back half of the season, then everything kind of changes with the offense and it all becomes a bit of a dart throw anyway. Tyler, once you finish getting through that, can you recap it for us?
So we finished with a very fun build, I think a lot of us like, in 2682, Lamar Jackson, Caleb Williams at quarterback, Kyron Williams, Zach Charbonnet, Marshawn Lloyd, Ty Chandler, Elijah Mitchell, and Eric Gray at running back. Just taking shots in volume, I think that makes sense, and especially in the finals. Also a nice thing about Eric Gray, basically an undrafted ADP. So if he does win the running back 2 job, probably less than 50% drafted, if not less than that. So nice little leverage piece in multiple ways. At wide receiver, Justin Jefferson, Nico Collins, Keenan Allen, Roma Dunze, Tyler Lockett, Jacoby Myers, Rashad Bateman, Devontae Walker. So we got nice little late Lamar Jackson double stack. And then at tight end, George Kittle and Juwan Johnson. I like that a lot. This team turned out pretty solid.
Yeah, I like it. I think it's definitely a fun team. I can see areas where we might go through periods where we don't score as much as others, but it feels pretty good to me. In terms of everyone else, I know there's plenty of people in the chat here. Want to hear your thoughts on your draft? We'll take a quick look at the board in a second.
Hoosier's not very happy with his, so I want to start with him. Let's check out some John's cap. 2682 build here from Hoosier with Anthony Richardson and Kirk Cousins at ADP. Bijan, Pacheco, Pollard, Brian Robinson Jr. Oh, you're the one that stole my fancy B-Rob. Tyrone Tracy, the guy we just got done fudding, and Deonta Foreman. So thanks for stealing some of our favorite running back targets. Chris Olave, Pittman, Hopkins way early, trying to get ahead of the Avalanche. JSN, Dontavian Wicks, Darnell Mooney, Marvin Mims, Darius Slayton.
Gets a
bunch of empty calories that wide receiver potentially. Brock Bowers, Zach Ertz, my brother in Christ. What are we doing?
That's not going to be a highly owned.
That is gross.
I don't think.
Jesus. Why? Just because of Bijan bring back? Oh, okay. Well, allow me to be the Josh Norris of the summer and just be like, we've jumped the shark. I mean, my God. There gotta be a better. I gotta look. There gotta be a better option at tight end than Zach Ertz at that point. What are we doing? Zach Ertz over Tucker Kraft and
I'd have taken Mike Gesicki. I'd take Jatavian
So the
Sanders. I'd take
Cincinnati
Greg
tight end
Olsen.
room is weird because they've got
I'd
Tanner
take Colby
Hudson.
Parkinson.
I mean, so okay, I got a question about this. I like Colby Parkinson. I think he's probably the starting tight end. But I will note in a Newshound way, and I promise the people Newshound stuff. He's currently practicing with a red jersey, so he's not playing with the players right now. And I asked, it has not been disclosed what he's got the red jersey on for. And so Stafford and Dennis Allen are the ones playing together, picking up where they left off late in the season. So TB, but I think whoever the Rams tight end will not be priced up very high, I don't think, and will be a priority for like those late dart throws. Higbee's probably out most of the regular season, if not definitely most of the regular season, since his injury did happen in late January. I mean, I'm glad someone told you were special today. Yeah, Yosh with the salient point that you probably stick with 5 running backs at that point in the draft. Knox, but yeah.
I've been taking a bit of Knox, mainly DraftKings 20-round drafts where I get most of my action. But yeah, I think it's a huge hedge against Dalton Kincaid. So if you're not heavy in on Kincaid, I don't mind mixing in Knox.
All right.
Builds.
I forgive your auto pick of D-Hop, I guess. I like D-Hop. I don't mind it. I needed to clown you. You said it was a bad draft. Jewish McCaffrey, true coward, didn't take 4 wide receivers from the same team, and DJ Chark instead took Dylan Lube. But I like the build. Went McCaffrey, Achane, Rico, Kamani, and Lube. So I think as far as like profiles of guys, pretty solid with Brock Purdy, Justin Herbert holding it down at quarterback, Debo, Amari, Pickens, Ladd, Addison, Samuel, Palmer, and he who shall not be named that I will not draft this year. You can't make me. Tight end, Hunter Henry, Noah Fant, Jonnu. That's my preferred late tight end is like Henry, Jonnu, Juwan, or Fant. I like that a lot. Once I figure out who the Rams tight end is going to be, I'm probably going to take him exclusively over Noah Fant because I'm more locked in on Rams random 2 touchdown like quick. Like the Rams tight end always gets worked in on play action in the red zone. Higbee gets these random 2 and 3 touchdown games. I'm far more confident in that play from like touchdown hunting if I'm in trouble. I know everybody wants the Noah Fant breakout to happen, but I mean, he's just likely the 4th target on that offense. So, and Mike McDaniel did say they want to run the ball a lot. So I mean, just, I don't know. I don't know if he's going to truly get the breakout. I think he can be very serviceable. I think he can be like a more athletic Hunter Henry, but I think you want to hunt for like those 2 touchdown games more than you want to hunt for yards late because I think the data shows that like the yards just don't come from guys who aren't seeing like a lot of the routes run and the targets. But I mean, Noah Fant has broken like long runs and stuff. So I don't know. That's a personal thing, I guess.
Yeah, I'm mixing him in. I'm not as high on him as some people, but I think I'm just okay with taking shots on tight ends who develop late. And I think that you look at how much that tight end room has absolutely cleared out for the Seahawks, and it's hard for me not to clock that. But Tyler, we're going to call that there. I mean, I've got DraftKings draft with Colm Kelly tomorrow from Rotoviz.
Yeah, for y'all that might not know, Tom, we're not doing a second draft right now because it's like midnight in the UK for Tom. But we are working out, trying to give y'all some more of us and me on this channel in the future. But yeah, no, Tom's got a lot more fun stuff coming up that he was shilling, and I interrupted him for Burt Kreischer style.
No, and if there's a particular night you want us to draft, let us know and we will figure it out because, man, we got nothing to do but draft. But like I say, DraftKings drafts next 2 days with Colm, Pat Kerrane. Friday, I'll drop my quarterback video on what it takes to find an elite quarterback who can win you a best ball tournament. Loads of Dynasty content coming your way. Truly appreciate everybody who's been in the chat. Hit the like button and do us a really big favor. When this stream ends, leave a comment. Tell us how much you loved it. That helps us massively, and we will be back very soon.